days before President Trump's inauguration, if someone had asked you, do you think the swamp creatures that weaponize the federal government against us are going to be brought to justice in the next year? What would you have said? You would have said, oh, hell yeah. This is what we voted for. This is what we're waiting for. We can't wait. Day one, baby. And so what happened in the space of that year? From this time last year, when our enthusiasm had reached, the height of Mount Kilimanjaro. What happened between then and now when we're kind of, I don't think so, cynically shrugging, a little disappointed, deflated? What happened? Well, the answer to what happened is Pam Bondi happened. Attorney General Pam Bondi happened. Over the course of the past 12 months, how many indictments have we seen from the Department of Justice related to COVID? To the federal government giving your money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to perform gain-of-function experiments on a virus that became more deadly because of those experiments than the people that were involved. The science lied to you and to me and to the United States Senate. The politicians that locked us down, forced us to wear masks, forced us to get vaccines or else lose our jobs. How many indictments have we seen over COVID? 0. How many indictments have we seen for the Russia collusion hoax that was propagated not just on Trump, not just on Trump's inner circle and members of his first administration, but on you? The root of the Russia collusion hoax was undermining your vote. It was anti-democracy. It was the overthrowing of a duly elected president by hamstringing him, saying, you know what, even though the American people voted for Donald Trump, the Electoral College is the law of the land, and President Trump won. Well, we don't think you should have won, so we're going to try to subvert you. How many indictments have we seen from Pam Bondi? 0. What about the Ukraine impeachment? That hoax. How many indictments have we seen? 0. What about the FBI agents? And these were not necessarily the agents that you think of on the ground. These were the political agents at the FBI who targeted parents like you, who didn't want their children taught critical race theory in public school. They didn't want their kindergartner being told that they're racist because they have white skin, or they're oppressed because they have black skin. And there's nothing you can do to redeem yourself from that. It's just how it is based on the amount of melanin that's in your skin. How many indictments have we seen for that abuse of power? 0. What about the FBI agents and the political leadership at the FBI that allowed those FBI agents to raid Project Veritas journalists who had the audacity to investigate Ashley Biden's diary, which, by the way, was real? 0 indictments, 0 accountability. What about the FBI agents that labeled Catholics as extremists? In a memo they didn't intend for you to see, they just wanted to target you behind the scenes. 0 indictments. What about the government agents, and we know their names, by the way, that colluded with big tech during COVID over transgender ideology, about January 6th, that Fedsurrection? What about the government officials that colluded with big tech to censor you? When you said, actually, a man can't be a woman. A man is a man. You were censored. And you said, wait a second, there obviously was something that happened around the 2020 presidential election. Bam, you were censored. Or God forbid, you questioned the COVID vaccine, questioned the science, Dr. Fauci himself. Government officials directed big tech organizations, platforms to censor you. How many indictments have we seen of the government officials that used private industry to censor free speech? 0. Pam Bondi has indicted 0. What about the government officials that staged the raid on Mar-a-Lago? They went into President Trump's house. They raided Melania Trump's underwear drawer, for goodness sake. Pam Bondi has indicted 0 people involved in that. What about Fani Willis and the lawfare, the infamous mugshot that Fani Willis gave President Trump. Only President Trump could turn that kind of lemon into the lemonade that he did. But that doesn't excuse Fani Willis's lawfare. That doesn't exonerate her from the fact that she abused the power of her office to try to target Trump because she doesn't like Trump. What about Fani Willis? Or Letitia James's lawfare against Trump, or Alvin Bragg's lawfare against Trump? How many indictments of these people involved in this targeted lawfare against Trump have we seen from Pam Bondi? The answer to that is zero. Or what about these inferior court judges who are, as we speak, stymieing President Trump's agenda? They're abusing their power, issuing nationwide injunctions. They have no authority to issue nationwide injunctions. I can issue a nationwide injunction too. I can stand up on my chair and be like, I hereby declare that you're not allowed to be this, that you're not allowed to do that. Well, I have no authority to say that. It's not legally binding. It's like Michael Scott saying, I declare bankruptcy. Well, okay, but that doesn't mean anything in the eyes of the law because that's not how it works. Inferior court judges are being Michael Scott, except instead of a funny sitcom on television, they're subverting your vote, trying to undermine the duly elected president of the United States. And how many of these judges has Pam Bondi indicted? Zero. What about the people that were involved in the rigging of the 2020 election, the illegal changing of voting rules and procedures by people who had no authority to change or alter any kind of voting procedures? Zero indictments. What about all of the NGO abuse that was uncovered by Elon Musk and his crew of brilliant genius nerds at Doge? Zero. We've seen zero indictments. What about the left-wing groups who are committing violence all across our nation and funded by Roy Singham-connected groups? Roy Singham, of course, as he sits in Shanghai, China, sharing an office with the Chinese Communist Party propaganda firm committed to the communist agenda, denies that he's a puppet of the Chinese Communist Party, but obviously is. What about that? How many indictments have we seen for that? Zero. Left-wing violence continues against conservatives. How many of these groups have been arrested since Charlie Kirk's assassination? Antifa hasn't been dismantled, have they? This is Pam Bondi's record. This is the problem. This is the constructive criticism. Listen, I can sit here and say this to you dispassionately. I have nothing personal against Pam Bondi. She was very loyal to President Trump during his impeachment process, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I appreciate that. President Trump appreciates that. But I'm not sitting here analyzing Pam Bondi as a friend. I'm not analyzing her as a person. I'm analyzing her completely dispassionately as a tool. Is she an effective tool in achieving justice? Is she an effective tool in holding those accountable for using and abusing the government, weaponizing it against you because they don't like your religious beliefs and your political beliefs and who you voted for and what you say on social media? Is she an effective tool? Is she a sledgehammer? Or is she a hammer made of glass? That's how I'm analyzing Pam Bondi here. It's not personal, it's dispassionate. And we have a big problem at the Department of Justice. We want President Trump's administration to succeed. We voted for him because we share his America First agenda, and Pam Bondi has become a liability to that agenda. The amount of political capital that Pam Bondi has cost Trump is something the president should consider, aside from his personal relationship with Pam Bondi. The fact that 1 year ago, you sat there and you said, oh yeah, we are going to see perp walks and jumpsuits because that's justice. And then today you're like, yeah, we're not going to see anything, are we? The reason that your attitude changed and my attitude changed is Pam Bondi. The enormous sea change in our outlook, our confidence, and whether we're going to see justice, it doesn't. I know critics watch this show. The mainstream media says, oh, these right-wing influencers and commentators who criticize Pam Bondi just don't want to criticize President Trump. So they picked Pam Bondi as the scapegoat. No. We're criticizing Pam Bondi because Pam Bondi is the problem. And yes, President Trump holds the solution. He, of course, the Attorney General, serves at the pleasure of the president. It's time for Pam Bondi, her service to end. Our movement is gaining ground. People around us are waking up. The mainstream media leftist narrative is cracking. At Blaze TV, we've built a home for some of the strongest, smartest voices in conservative media. When you subscribe to Blaze TV, you're not just watching content, you're supporting a movement. You're backing creators who think for themselves. It's everything that the networks won't show you, delivered on your terms on any device, anytime. And it starts at just $8 a month. BlazeTV.com/Liz, promo code Liz.